Ronin. We love stories.
So it's about a marriage scammer is too much of a simplification of what this guy is. He's a very complicated man, but he does do a lot of the things that marriage scammers do, of like persuading people to be in a relationship with him by being the perfect guy, by being romantic and attentive and kind, and then having ulterior motives, usually financial. But what I really wanted to do, this is a story that we've all heard. We know about this. It happens all the time. There are podcasts, there are, articles, there are Netflix documentaries. We know about this kind of man. But everything I've read and watched and listened to has never done is got into the head of the guy, which is what I really wanted to do. I just wanted to get in the head of one of these guys and just be there with him while he's doing these terrible things to people and manipulating people and lying to people and the cruelty. And I wanted to just work out what made him tick. So that's essentially what it's about. But there's also two female characters in it. There's his woman he's currently trying to woo, whose husband has just died. So she's a newly widowed woman, and her daughter is getting weird vibes off him and doesn't trust him. So we see him from her point of view, the 25-year-old daughter. And then we also see him from the point of view of a woman who feels that she's married to him under a different name and in a different place and can't work out why her husband keeps going missing for so long and turns his phone off. So there's a lot going on, but it's really mainly about the guy and spending time with him.
That sounds like a psychological thriller, as usual.
Yes, absolutely. Business as usual, classic Lisa Jewell thriller.
But what makes Don't Let Him In special to you?
I think it's him. It is definitely him. It's not as complicated as some of my books. It doesn't have as many characters in it or as many timelines in it. It's a much cleaner, more linear story. I think a little bit more like None of This Is True. But it's him. He makes it special. A part of me almost wishes I could have written the whole book just from his point of view, but I needed the women's perspective on the situation to really understand the depths of his depravity. But yeah, he makes it special, him being inside his head. He's a first person character and he's talking to the reader a lot of the time in a very conversational way. So it's a very intimate connection he'll have with the reader. The guy who did the audio, the actor in London who did the audio for him, said he was torn between hating this guy and fancying him. And that's sort of what I want my readers to kind of be attracted to him at the same time as just despising him.
Wow. Okay. It makes me intrigued, you talking about this right like that. It also reminds me a little bit of Henry.
Yeah, he's not as sweet as Henry. I feel like Henry had so much inherent sweetness to him. And I don't think Henry was a psychopath. I think he was just a very mixed up, broken kid. And actually Henry comes with this incredibly traumatic backstory and this incredibly traumatic childhood, whereas my character in Don't Let Him In, he has no excuses.
He's just
and
a
that's
psychopath.
part of what makes him chilling.
Ah, okay.
Much more chilling, I think, than him.
Very, very intriguing. Very intriguing. All right, I'm looking forward to reading this. But meanwhile, I'm going to have to read Breaking the Dark. That was your gateway to the Marvel Universe. How it comes?
I have no idea. I still to this day don't know how that happened. I just got a phone call from my agent here in London saying I've just had an email from a commissioning editor at Disney Books, and Disney published Marvel, asking if you'd write a full-length fiction novel for one of their characters. And I'm not a Marvel fan. I've watched a few Marvel movies over the years because I've got kids and a husband, and so that's sort of been peripheral, but nothing that I'm interested in or fascinated by. Then when he said that, I just thought, well, no, I'm clearly not I'm not the right person to write a novel for Marvel. It's just not me. But then he said the character they'd like you to write about is Jessica Jones. And Jessica Jones, for those who don't know, is what is known in the Marvel universe as a street level hero. So she doesn't wear a cape and fly around. She lives a normal life, but she has superpowers, and her superpowers are sort of part of her normal human existence. So in the case of Jessica Jones, she's got super strength and she can fly, but really badly. That's the sort of like her strength is super healing, super strength, and really bad flying. So she tries to avoid flying because she's terrible at it. And she is a private eye. She's a private investigator. She's based in New York, and she's an alcoholic. She's had a terribly traumatic experience in her character's storyline, involving being kidnapped by a baddie, and being used as his slave under his mind power. Again, the sort of thing that I love writing about, and makes her do some terrible things to other members of the superhero community. And she ends up being traumatized and is self-medicating with alcohol. For me, and I'd watched her Netflix, the series on Netflix, loved it. As a non-Marvel fan, I wouldn't class that as classic Marvel territory. It really isn't classic Marvel territory at all. It's very gritty and relatable and down to earth. And I thought, yep, I can do that. I can absolutely write about Jessica Jones. I love her. So I just sat down and wrote her whole comic series. I didn't want to base it on the TV show because the TV show was already a sort of watered down or an interpretation of the comics. So I didn't want to do an interpretation of an interpretation. I wanted to go back to the source. So I read all her comic books. They were brilliant. And I agreed to do it and wrote the novel. And it's very much a Lisa Jewell novel, I think.
It does feel like an unusual Lisa Jewell novel.
A very unusual Lisa Jewell novel. But honestly, we're talking about my characters and how my readers love my characters. And even though Jessica Jones isn't my character, I put her up there in my top 10 favourite characters I've ever written. I enjoyed writing her. Yeah, I hope that comes across to the reader.
Okay, so now we have None of This Is True coming up in Germany this year in July. Then there will be Don't Let Him In. You are now part of the Marvel Universe. What's next? Is there? I heard rumors about a Netflix adaptation for None of This Is True. Is that?
Yes, it's dragging its heels, as these things always do. I've had books go under option for very exciting projects since my first book came out. And I've become quite jaded about the excitement levels because people get very excited in the early stages of optioning a book and developing plans to get it to the screen. And then what happens in film production is they have to wait for certain things to fall into place. They have to get the right writer. Then they have to get the script approved. And then once the script is approved, then they have to get the right leading actor or a showrunner or a platform. And you're always waiting to get the right bits of the jigsaw. So at the moment, the bits of the jigsaw we have for None of This Is True is we have the writer who has written the first draft and is currently rewriting it. And we have the platform. We have Netflix. Of course we have Netflix. Makes total because I wrote a book about a Netflix documentary. So those are two quite big bits of the jigsaw. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I can't get excited about it. You can get excited about it if you like. That's fine. But yeah, hopefully that will happen. And that would be amazing. Absolutely amazing.
And for the rest of you, what is your next project about?
So I've got that going on. I have also got a book that I'm halfway through, literally halfway through. It's at 40,000 words, and my books tend to be about 80,000 words. And it doesn't have a title at the moment. It's giving me Family Upstairs crossed with Then She Was Gone vibes. It's gone much more back to that sort of thing. And that will be delivered to my publishers in July this year, and then will be published in the UK and America in July next year, and then in Germany, I hope, year after that. And then also this year, I have just signed a contract to write an Audible original. So I'm going to write a short book that will be published directly as an audiobook and won't be published in print until a year after. So that's another little side project I've got going on. So yeah, all very busy. And I've just signed 2 more contracts with my UK publisher and my American publisher to write 3 more books. So I'll be writing a book every year now until I turn 60. And then I'm going to retire. No, I'm not.
We are looking forward to every new book of yours. It's always a good read. It's always worth it.
Thank you. Thank you. So, I think we
just like by the end of this interview, do you have some more time for like 3 community questions?
Okay, go on.
All right, so the first one is by a user called Toth. He asks, what have you ever Googled for your books that would probably land you on an FBI watch list?
Oh, everything. Oh, there's nothing. Oh, God, I Googled something the other day. What was it? It's usually about the decomposition of bodies or what poison would kill you the fastest or how long does it take to strangle someone to death or, you know, these sorts of things. But my Google search history, as in any crime writer's Google search history, is extraordinary. I actually think if the FBI was watching my Google search history, they would look at it and think, she's a novelist. It would be so obvious. It would just be so there's no way that a human being is Googling these things for any other reason than to write a book. No, lots of weird things on there.
Uli wants to know, who is your favorite writer? And is there a book you wish you had written it yourself?
So it's really hard to choose a favorite writer. I have a favorite genre, which is the genre in which I write. I love psychological thrillers, domestic thrillers. My current favorite writer in my genre is a writer who's been around for a while, and I don't even know if she's published in Germany. I hope she is. She should be. She's brilliant. She's a British writer, and she's called Sabine Durrant, and she writes kind of, I'm going to say, semi-literary thrillers, which I have a personal penchant for literary thrillers. And the interesting thing, though, about literary thrillers, if you go and look on their Amazon listings, they usually get quite poor ratings. I don't know. They're not to everybody's taste, and I love literary thrillers or semi-literary thrillers. So yeah, Sabine Durrant is my favourite, but I would just bear in mind that she might not be everybody's taste. So, but she's my favourite. A book that I wish I'd written? No, I don't. There's no book that I wish I'd written, because for what? For why? There maybe are ideas I wish I'd had, and then I could have written my own book using the idea. So sometimes I will envy an idea. I'll think, God, what a brilliant idea. I would love to have had that idea and written my own book about that idea. But a book, no.
Okay, last question. Hannah wants to know, do you sometimes see people and ask yourself what could happen next? Like, is something creepy or horrifying going to happen? Or do they hide some dark secrets?
I think this all the time. And this is what inspires nearly all of my books, is seeing people and getting feelings about them, like the guy through the window, just seeing him sitting there thinking, what, you've got a story, there's something, you're hiding a secret, you're not right, I need to know more about you. And that happens to me all the time. There's a scene in The Family Upstairs where Lucy is still in Nice in the south of France, trying to get the money together and get the passports to flee France and go back to the UK. They've all been sleeping rough. They've been homeless, she and her children, so she wants them to be clean, to take them to see her son's father, and she takes them into a private beach club on the beach in Nice to use the showers. And that whole book started with me seeing a woman in Nice looking really scruffy and street worn, and taking her 2 children behind the boardwalk down to the private shower block of a members club. And that, I just thought, I want to write about that woman. I want to know why she's so scruffy, why her children are so scruffy, why she looks so desperate and thin. Why is she needing to use these showers that she's not really entitled to be using? What's her story? What's her story? She's got a secret. She's running away from something. I need to know what it is. So it's always, I'm constantly looking at people, thinking, which is why the worst thing that I could possibly do if I see a person who inspires me is to stop and talk to them, find out anything about them, because I don't want to know anything about them. That moment has happened, that snapshot. And now my imagination can fill in the rest, which is the fun bit.
Right, so famous last words. Do you have anything to say for your German fans?
Yes, I'm going to say to my German fans, thank you for reading my books. I would love it if you could spread the word about how much you enjoy reading my books. Tell all your friends how great they are. And I hope one day I can get over to Germany and meet you in person and sign some books and, chat to you all about about my writing and my career in person, that would be wonderful. But yeah, in the meantime, just thank you for reading my books and keep on doing that because it makes me very happy.
Thank you for the interview.
Well, thank you so much. It was a lovely interview, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
And yeah, maybe see you in real life one day if I ever get to Germany.